We have other festivals that we do through the year. Our biggest one we call Freedom Fest, and that's our 4th of July celebration. It's the last Saturday before the 4th of July every year. Come on by and join us and have a good time.
Mark your calendars.
And we put, some vendors out, and everybody gets to sing a little bit, and we have music all day, and then culminates with a nice fireworks show that we will compare to anybody in the city. We're not quite Lennox, but we're close.
Welcome to the AERO Atlanta Podcast. I am Shannon James, your president and CEO, and we want to thank you for joining us today once again for another great podcast. And we have the opportunity, and we're blessed to be in the presence of the Mayor, Jeff DeTar of the City of Morrow. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure, Mayor, my pleasure. Well, I know we've been talking about this podcast for some time, and so now you're live and in action, so we're glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
I know you are. Well, Mayor, I know that we've got a lot of listeners, a lot of viewers, somewhat familiar with the City of Morrow, even yourself as the mayor in your first term, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Indeed.
And so, Mayor DeTar, let our listeners know a little bit about yourself and who you are personally, where you're from, how you were able to now mature into this great leadership role for the City of Morrow. Talk to us.
Well, a few years back, it's been about 35 years now, the Army left me off in Atlanta. I used to work at Fort Gillem, and I retired after 20 years with the U.S. military. I met my wife here just before I retired, and she said, I'm living in Clayton County, you have no choice. And I moved into Morrow, so it's been 35 years living in Morrow, and I raised my kids here. We all went to school here, and I say we all because my wife and I have both been going to school as well. And here we are. 20 years in the military, I retired and moved right into electronics repair, and I've been doing that ever since. And it's all I've ever done. The Army trained me to repair stuff. I'm still fixing things as we speak.
That's right. Now you're at the top of the castle working on the City of Morrow. And let's send a special shout to your wife who kept you here. So thank you, Mrs. DeTar, for keeping the great mayor right here with us in Clayton County.
A big shout to Miss Paula. Thank you very much.
That's right. And you mentioned you're great with working with your hands, and you mentioned electronics. And you and I had a really good conversation that I didn't know about, and that your natural fit, I guess, more of your natural habitat. So talk to us about what you're doing more day to day, because I think it speaks directly to our aerotropolis and, more importantly, to the aerospace industry.
Aerospace, indeed. The first job I had coming out of the United States Army was with Scientific Atlanta, and I worked with them for 10 years, and they were 100% cutting-edge technology, wonderful company, but it was all manufacturing, which is not what I do best. And after 10 years with them, they went one direction and I went another, and I started working for a small company here in Atlanta called Precision Electronics, which is now owned by Barfield, and I repair airplane electronics. I work on sound systems, I work on instruments, I work on control units, I work on just about anything that's powered by electricity inside an airplane. Wow. So the next time you listen to a stewardess on the aircraft and you can't understand what she's saying, that was my fault because I didn't fix that box right.
Oh my goodness! Well, obviously we hear it more than we don't hear. So obviously you're doing a lot right.
We're doing the best we can. Yeah, it's a wonderful job to have. It's really interesting every single day.
Wow! It's great to hear that you've got direct experience in industries that we're targeting and to work with and partner. So no question, our partnership has started out great. The City of Morrow has joined the Aerotropolis at the highest level, at the chairman's level, and no question we're excited about our partnership and doing a lot of great things. And knowing that you're great with your hands in aerospace, we may have to pull you to the side and do even more with us, Mayor.
We can do this. We can do this.
All right. Well, and we will do this, right? And so, speaking of what's happening, you as the mayor, and I think the City of Morrow has done a really good job of really maximizing its potential and its proximity to the world's most traveled, most efficient airport, and the gateway really into Clayton County, to be quite honest. And you and I were talking about a lot of the growth in the City of Morrow.
Yes.
I was doing a lot of research, and like I'm always doing, and the City of Morrow is doing great. I mean, you guys are growing like gangbusters. I mean, from 2000 until 2017, you guys are almost basically doubled in population from roughly 4,500 to now 7,500. What would you attribute that growth to, Mayor?
The main part of that is people like to live in Morrow. We have a great community. We have an absolutely wonderful, vibrant population, and everybody is active in our communities, and people like it here. When they finally move in, they never want to leave. And it's great. We've had some housing growth, and all of those are full, and we're just doing a good job. I attribute all of that to how well the city represents itself to those people who live here and how much they like staying in our communities. We have 17 distinct subdivisions throughout the city, and all of them have their own flavor, and all of them have their own attractions, and people just really like that community feel when they get there. It just feels home, and they want to be home.
Man, I tell you, Mayor, you just hit on several topics, and I think it directly correlates to the growth. I mean, no question in regards to those unique communities, because research also shows that the City of Morrow is one of the, if not the most diverse city in Clayton County. And when we were looking at the numbers, there's a huge population mix between the Black and Hispanic community, the Asian community, and others. So there's a very huge diversity going on there. Kind of talk to us about those unique communities you've mentioned just before in regards to the diversity.
We have, like you said, a very large Asian population. It runs about 24 to 25% of our city population at the moment.
Wow.
African American is another 60%, which is our largest single segment. And then the Latin population is also growing. The last census, it was around 16%, but I expect it's a good bit higher than that right now. And we welcome them into the community, and we celebrate the cultural differences. And
That's right.
We find a way to make everybody fit. Everybody has their own idea of what a community should look like, and we have ways of making those differences fit, and we can celebrate those. As an example, this last weekend we had our second annual Lunar New Year Festival.
Oh, nice.
And we had a tremendously successful Asian festival right there at South Lake Mall. And you haven't quite lived until you've gone through the dragon dance and all the fireworks to kick off a festival. And we had a really good time. We have other festivals that we do through the year. Our biggest one we call Freedom Fest, and that's our 4th of July celebration. It's the last Saturday before the 4th of July every year. Come on by and join us and have a good time.
Mark your calendars.
And we put, some vendors out, and everybody gets to sing a little bit, and we have music all day, and then culminates with a nice fireworks show that we will compare to anybody in the city. We're not quite Lennox, but we're close. And we do a good job, and we have a great time every year. So come on out and hang with 2,000 or 3,000 of your closest friends and sit out in the grass and have a good time.
Wow, man, that is impressive. I mean, knowing that the City of Morrow understands its unique position in the county, but also has embraced its uniqueness with its variation of culture and diversity, and knowing that you guys are hosting festivals and parades and events. I mean, it is like it's like open up the door. Let's come in and see what Morrow's doing.
And let's see if we can have a party doing it.
That's right.
We might as well have a good time. The idea is this is your community. You should be able to celebrate and have a good time with your community.
Wow, man, that's spoken from a true leader. Mayor, knowing the community is so diverse and the population is growing, and there are several dynamics that I think some of our listeners may or may not know of that continue to influence a lot of that growth. And one of those that we love to tout around here is Clayton State University. And it is literally in your backyard. So talk to our listeners about the strength and the power of Dr. Hines. Shout out to Dr. Hines, who is a big advocate, we're a big supporter of, and Clayton State University and its power with the connection with the City of Morrow.
We have a really good connection with the Clayton State University right now, and Dr. Hines is a big part of that. He has a staff that he's put in place that he has empowered to operate in the community and help us grow. We're working actively with them to turn ourselves into a college town and get some more input from their students. But you also have to look at Clayton State University just a little different than most universities. They have a really different student population. Most of the students, way over half of them, are people who have gone back to school.
Right.
My daughter just graduated there, and she's,
nice.
I'm going to tell on her, she's 38, and she just got her 4-year degree.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
she was a full-time student for several years to accomplish this.
Awesome.
That's a typical student at Clayton State University. So you have some 18-year-olds fresh out of high school that are over there, and they're eager to conquer the world.
Wide open.
And you have some people that have been trying to conquer the world for 20 years, and they've decided to go back to school and get some more information and education to help them do that.
Wow.
So Clayton State is just a little bit different. So when we try to offer something to a student body, it's not just your taco stand or sub sandwich pizzas just outside the gate. So we need something that'll handle what a more mature mind is going to want to do. And we're still exploring the ways to do that. But the college is participating with that. They are the number one economic driver in Clayton County. If you look at the impact from the university, we're talking $200 million a year or more that the impact comes from that university. So this is not only an educational opportunity, it's also an industry. It's also commercial. So there's a lot of aspects to this. It's quite a situation, and we're really proud to have them as our partner in the city of Morrow.
Well said, man.
And we can claim them because their front door is in the city limits.
That's right. You can walk in at any time.
Anytime.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because Dr. Hines feels the same way about you. So when I talked to him about the mayor of Morrow, you guys are obviously sharing notes or something because there's a lot of camaraderie between the two of you guys.
We don't have to share. It's natural because the partnership is there, and it just
huge.
comes out just the way that it should.
Awesome. Well, and that's huge because, we view Clayton State as an anchor, very similar to the City of Morrow, and what they're doing is nothing short of phenomenal. And so, well said, Mayor. What I love to do is, Clayton State obviously is a big highlight. We love to shine that great institution the way it should be. But you also have a very, very strong school that I love to praise about in Elite Scholars, which is in the City of Morrow, one of the top performing high schools in the state of Georgia. So if you could allow our listeners to know more about Elite Scholars.
Elite Scholars is a very unique situation. They are definitely scholars. The educational curriculum that they're given is more stringent than almost any other school in the state. And they have students, they get to pick and choose a little bit, but they have students that are achieving at the levels that they're pushing. The whole school system in Clayton County is very progressive. And if you watch the news in the next 2 years, you're going to see some things going on that nowhere in the United States can you see something to compare with what we're going to try to do. All the students are going to have technology. All the students are going to have advanced math, science, and history and social studies. All of these students are going to be pushed in this direction. And Elite Scholars is where we're getting some of the input to do this. Elite Scholars last year, 100% graduation rate.
Wow.
Find me any other school that can say that.
100.
It's a remarkable statistic.
Wow, 100. And they're ranked, I know the year before they were 30-something, maybe 34 or 36. I know last year they went up big time.
Big time. They're one of the top 10 schools in the United States.
Wow. Right in the City of Morrow.
And imagine that. In the state of Georgia, they're not number one.
Right.
But they're top 10 in the United States. Think about what that means to the state of Georgia. Georgia has some remarkable institutions, and we're really proud to be one of the best.
Oh, no question. I tell you, City of Morrow is so well positioned, and you guys have been very thoughtful and strategic in influencing your anchors of your strength, like Elite Scholars and Clayton State University, or even the mall. And so what I'd love to do, Mayor, is transition a bit because, I think we've highlighted a lot of great opportunities that already exist within the city. And so what we want to do is kind of now drill down a little bit, right?
Roger that.
That's right. Let's go down a little deeper in the details. And before we jump into this point, I'd love to give a special shout out to your council, your city manager, Sylvia, who continue to do a great job because everything that we're talking about, you and council and the city manager and all of your team are really setting the ecosystem. You're setting the environment for the schools to continue to flourish. So I wanted to definitely stop and give a pause shout out to your team, actually.
Thank you for that. I have an excellent team. Our city council is motivated. You hit the right word on that. And we are united in our effort to make Morrow the best place there is to live. Sylvia Reddick is the most energetic of all the city managers in the county.
No doubt.
She's really hard to keep up with. I find it difficult. And she's also the most knowledgeable city manager that I've ever worked with. So she's a remarkable asset.
She is awesome. She is awesome. Sylvia, if you haven't heard by now, your job is secure, right? So let's keep moving. I tell you, Mayor, in regards to the city, and this may be more specific for some of our listeners who may not be as familiar with the City of Morrow. And so one of the things that I've noticed that is really strong about the City of Morrow is that its ability to really drive forward its per capita income and its median family income. If you look at the city and the state, the City of Morrow is right there in parallel or even exceeding the city and state averages in per capita income and also median family income at about roughly $60,000. And so I'm wondering, is that more attributed to the fact that we're talking about the great schools like Elite Scholars, the great institutions like Clayton State University, or your ability to have such a great mix of retail and office in the City of Morrow? Talk to us about what that means to have such a strong per capita income and per median family income in the city.
It means quite a bit, of course, and it's attributed to all of the things you mentioned, plus what we've already talked about, the community sense that people have. People want to live here, and it makes it attractive. The largest percentage of our homes are single family, owned by the people that are living in them, and that makes a difference. But we have the attractiveness of having communities where people want to live. So when people start looking in Clayton County, we're one of the first places it comes up. And we have an advantage in that aspect. We're very close to the interstate. Exit 233 and exit 235.
That's right.
Right there. That's the City of Morrow. And it's real easy to get anywhere else. So when you're done with your work, if you're working in Atlanta, just a few minutes down the interstate, you're home. If you're working in Clayton County, just a few minutes across Highway 54, you're home.
That's right.
It's very convenient. And then we do have all of the economic drivers that you were talking about. South Lake Mall is right there.
Oh, yeah.
We have some industry. We have some healthcare. We have lots of different employers in the city that are doing very well. But the biggest single factor, in my opinion, is the fact that people actually want to live here.
So that is big. For all of our lotto players, you mentioned 233 and 235. So those numbers kind of stood out. So I'm sure somebody took notes real quick. But more importantly, go drive off of those X's, right? 235.
Drive to 233. Turn left, turn right, take a look at what we got.
I love that. I love that. And so in regards to that, you mentioned people want to live there. And there's no question, it's evident because the City of Morrow, as we mentioned earlier, is one of the most diverse cities in the entire county. When we look at the numbers, and you even hit this earlier, the fact that there's a strong concentration of African Americans in the community. But I think the biggest component was the fact that you've got over 25% of the population of Asian descent. How did that even come to be that there's such a huge population concentration that's so diverse?
I take full credit, of course.
Mayor DeTar.
The simple fact is it's a community where people like to live. And if your relatives are living somewhere and you're driving around and you like the place, you're going to live there too. We are attractive to anyone who wishes to be part of the community.
That's right.
And that's the biggest single driver. We don't really have clusters of population or anything like that. People are scattered around. My neighborhood has just about every ethnicity you can think of on a street that's only got a couple of dozen homes on it.
Right.
So it's simple. It's the atmosphere. People feel at home, they feel welcome, and they're willing to live here, and we're really willing to have them do so.
Well, you've been doing a really good job. No question, you and council, because it is so, the numbers don't lie. You guys are so diverse, and listening to you speak from the top about how welcoming the city is to diversity, I think it speaks to your leadership, to council and your team. And so kudos, Mayor. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job of being very inclusive.
Thank you.
No question about it. And, we were talking about industries, right? How diverse the City of Morrow is really. And when you look at the City of Morrow, you guys have done a really good job of really diversifying your concentration mix for jobs. And so when you look at some of the data that exists for the City of Morrow, retail trade has a very pretty strong component. We talked about the mall. We mentioned the strength of the corridor and the commercial aspect and feel at 30%, you also have at 17% educational services, which speaks to the university, and we're talking about the schools.
We have Clayton State, and we have 5 other universities that have a presence in our city.
Really?
We have satellite campuses.
So
in
can we
several
speak to
different
those satellite campuses? Any one of them you'd like to highlight today?
St. Leo, unfortunately, just moved out. That's my alma mater, or I wouldn't mention them at all.
I know you wouldn't.
And Ohio Christian University.
Oh, nice.
And we have some tech schools in town. And yeah, just come on by and take a look.
So there's more options, which obviously speak to the educational piece. But what I love to speak to is that in regards to those industries, are there any industries that the City of Morrow is targeting? Because if you look at the City of Morrow in comparison to the county, right? The county has a little bit more of a, I wouldn't say a heavy concentration, but they think more in the world of transportation and warehousing. Whereas in the City of Morrow, you guys have very little of that. So kind of speak to the city dynamic and why you guys have kind of, I guess, not had as much warehousing and transportation, but more in the other realms of industries.
We have several warehousing and transportation type units in the city, and those have been established for 30 years. So it's not so much that we've skipped over that. It's just everybody else grew around us, and we're capitalizing on our success. The industries that we're interested in are those that wish to be a partner with the city, just like everybody else. Our partnership mindset is what really matters, and what we can do to help you is the same thing that you can do to help us. And wherever you find a fit, that's where you need to be. We welcome almost any industry. One of our largest recent acquisitions was Toto Incorporated.
Toto.
And they make plastics.
Right.
So that's not necessarily a mid-city kind of operation, but we're proud to have them there at home.
Absolutely.
Our oldest industry in town is Sherwin-Williams, and they pump out millions of gallons a year and truck them right on out to exit 233 and head north, south, east, west, and they go everywhere. So it's not necessarily what your industry is, it's whether we can fit you and whether you can fit with us.
Wow, that's well said, Mayor. And I think, the city has obviously done a really good job. I mean, Toto, that's a huge win. I mean, I had an opportunity to meet some of their leadership in Clayton when we were hosting events, Arts Clayton and so on and so forth. And they've been very complimentary of their experience in the City of Morrow and its leadership. So not only are people coming, but now it's like they can't leave because they're so, I guess, they're loving the experience.
You can't please everybody, but there are mom and pop up to the biggest corporations. There's 600 different businesses in the City of Morrow. In 2.5 square miles, we've got 600 different businesses.
Wow.
And most of them would give you that same impression that the city is good to work with and good to have as a partner.
Well, listen, being fortunate to lead this organization for the past 10 months, I have been singing the praises of the City of Morrow, both domestically and abroad. So trust me, no questions got my vote. And now it's just a matter of figuring out, let others now experience what we're talking about, right?
There we go.
That's right. And so what I love to do, Mayor, we recently had a bus tour that you participated in where we were able to highlight some of those assets in the City of Morrow. And so what I love to do is maybe talk through one maybe specific, or two if you like to talk about assets that you would like to discuss, or some for our listeners to hear about.
Well, we got a lot of them. There's 30 acres on the interstate that's pristine and has never been developed, that's just ripe for any kind of development. 30 full acres just completely waiting for somebody to come in and build something out of it. We've got 7 acres the city just bought in the middle of some woods. There's an old church that we just bought that's got a developed parking lot.
And I'm excited about that one.
And some really good possibility. We're building our dog park over there. So you can't have all of it. I need a small piece of it.
I bring my Cane Corso over there.
We've got a piece of the mall. One of the anchor spaces in the mall has been bought by the city, and that's available. So we've got quite a diverse section of real estate that the city owns, but there's also a tremendous number of commercial properties that are available throughout the city that you could turn into something. We have vacant property, and we have well-developed that could be redeveloped, or you could move in and start operations in a week. So we've got quite a portfolio available places that you can do some business.
A lot of opportunity. I tell you, if anyone who knows.
On top of the 600 we got room for a few more.
That's right. Open for business. And I would love at some point we have to bring Steve Langford with Ackerman and Company in here because Steve knows every inch square mile of the city of Morrow.
The only person that knows it better than Sylvia Reddick.
Well, you know what? I'm going to challenge Steve in a little while here. So I'm going to spend some more time, as you know, in the city. But Steve is well known and a very much a thought leader. So Steve, special shout out to you and Ackerman and Company, who are members of the Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance. And so as our listeners are hearing, there are tons of opportunities that the city of Morrow has, and not only the open opportunities, but thinking about the existing companies and businesses, higher levels of education, all of the many components that make the city of Morrow so great. And so I'm hopeful that our listeners were able to take away a lot of good information today. What I'd love to do, Mayor, is kind of transition just a bit. And I know that we've talked through a lot of great things. But what I'd love to do is spend one moment with you to identify maybe any potential challenges or challenge that the city is looking to address and to continue to move forward to make it an even better city going forward.
We have all of the same problems that you would expect from any metropolitan area. Mm-hmm. We have mass transit issues. Mm-hmm. We're working with MARTA to create some more mass transit options. Bus, high capacity transit. We're looking at heavy rail.
That's right.
And several other options coming through not just Morrow, but Clayton County. Mm-hmm. We have, in addition to those transportation type issues, we have traffic, just like everybody else does. Mm-hmm. Morrow is developing a new traffic plan that we're going to start implementing this year to start diverting some of those cars and make it a little safer for you to make it through the city without some crazy people doing what they always do.
This is Atlanta, right?
And we have 150 to 200,000 cars a day drive down the interstate, back and forth, going to and from Atlanta. We're happy to have you stop by and come by and see what we got to offer.
Well, you guys got a ton. And, Mayor, you hit something that I'm really excited about. I mean, it gives me goosebumps. The fact that we're going to now have the ability to have the commuter rail option. That it now is moving forward. Matter of fact, I've seen on my calendar with MARTA, and there's land use and transportation planning already scheduled. And so that process is moving forward. So not only is the great mayor talking about it, the city of Morrow is actually being about it because it's on my calendar and it's happening. And so now that our great partners with MARTA, and I know Chris Tomlinson has now been positioned to now lead the ATL initiative, but knowing that the commuter rail option is going to now bring that connectivity, right, between now East Point is supposed to push over right into the Mountain View property, right down to the city of Morrow and pushing right into Jonesboro, I think is going to give the entire county access not only to the city of Morrow, but to the entire county and then upwards into near the airport area.
That's just one piece of it. The rail is a big part. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that a rail can make a huge difference in the way that people drive back and forth to work and to where they drive. But we also have the high-capacity buses that we're talking about, and we're expanding the bus routes. And there are other options that MARTA is looking at that may move us into the 22nd century.
Oh, nice.
So just hold your breath.
That's right. It's
going to happen. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't positively say the rail is going to be in Morrow, although I'm pretty sure it will be.
Hey, it's there.
It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And it is finally on the way.
And that's what we're excited about, right? It is on the way. It's coming. And so we're not just talking about it. This is activity that's happening.
Right.
And it really excites us at the Aerotropolis because all that does, it allows us to continue to help promote our area, help people understand what's happening, what's coming, and to be quite honest, a big reason why we started this podcast. So our listeners can hear firsthand from the leadership like yourself what's really happening, not what's conversational, what's really happening. And so, Mayor, I know that I've taken a good bit of your time today. What I'd love for our listeners to better understand is how to, if it's something that they heard today that may pique their interest or something that they wanted to learn more about or they wanted to come down themselves and see all these great assets that we're talking about, how can they reach you or how can they get in contact with someone with the city?
We're online, cityofmorrow.com. All the contact information is right there. I will answer the phone. I will answer your emails and we'll talk. The best people to talk to are those that work full time in city, and that would be starting with the city manager, Sylvia, and the professionals that we have on hand. And all you have to do is get on the interstate and hit exit 233, and there you are.
233.
And we're right here. We're home all the time. We're glad to talk to you.
Sounds like we got some lotto numbers out there, guys. 233. We need to see you on it. Coming down 75. And another shout out to Sylvia, who is amazing, who is phenomenal, and who I enjoy having great conversations with, and who is a great visionary and a big advocate for the city of Morrow. And knowing that you and Sylvia are tag teaming and the council, that is a powerful combination. And so our organization just wants to continue to help be an added tool to your success. And so I want to thank you, Mayor DeTar, for taking time out of your busy schedule. Matter of fact, I know the mayor is up for re-election. So if you haven't heard today, he's announced his re-election bid right here on the podcast.
There you go. There you go.
There you go. Right here.
Vote for Jeff in 2019.
2019, vote for Jeff. So you heard it here first today, guys. Listen, Mayor, I want to thank you again for joining us on the AERO ATL Podcast, where you're always welcome, and I'm sure we'll have you back, no question about it.
You can't get rid of me that easy.
No, you're not going anywhere.
Not if I can help it.
That's right. You heard it first, and I can't get rid of you, Mayor. Well, listen, I want to just thank you again. And to all of our listeners, if it's something that you've heard today that you want more information about, seriously, go out to our social media feed. We're on LinkedIn. We're Facebook. We're on also now YouTube. So we want you to follow us. And also go to our webpage at aeroatl.org, where you can find the latest information about the Aerotropolis Atlanta. And we want to help you land here and take off. My name is Shannon James, your president and CEO. Thank you for joining us.